Hallelujah. Giving, hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. In the morning when I wake up, in the night when I wake up, I will lift up my voice to heaven and give you the highest praise. Hallelujah to my King. Hallelujah to my Father. Hallelujah to my Jesus. I bow before the throne. When I look at all the wonder and I see all the creation, the beauty of the universe, you never, never change. You never, never lie. You never, never change. You never, never change. Hallelujah to my Jesus. Hallelujah. 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 Giving, hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise. Hallelujah. Giving the highest praise.
Hey, come let's pray, Jehovah. Come let's worship Jehovah. It deserves the praise. Come let's praise Him. It deserves everything. Oh, the worshiping. Oh, He gave me life. I will praise His name. I'm here to praise my God. Oh, because He gave me life. Come celebrate, come jubilate, come and worship Him. He deserves the praise. Hallelujah, giving the higher praise. Hallelujah, giving the higher praise.
Hallelujah, giving the higher giving. Hallelujah.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on your location. Welcome to this program of Alfonso Zienso right here from the New England Bureau of the Liberia Public Radio, NLPR TV. We're going to give in the higher praise. Let's get the program going. This is by two Liberian gospel artists, Keep Praise and Bass. They're teaming up with these beautiful songs. It's our opening theme here to whatever you are. Thank you. Today, hopefully I go do all the favor. I will be hosting Chief Cyril Allen of the Governing Council of the CDC-led government, former National Patriotic Party leader. We're going to be getting his take on the current talk in the community out the war crime court and economic crime court. What his thought, we're going to be getting his inside version of what he thinks, or do we need to go back on the drawing board? A lot of conversations is ongoing, and we're going to get this program going here. And somebody who has been or felt that he is the center of gravity in this conversation is the Senator of Nimba County, Senator Prince Yomit Johnson. Let's get a ball rolling, and in the interest of African solidarity, we're going to take you to neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire right now for this.
Sonia, Daniel, no, near where ye back. Sonia, near where ye back. I do have you. Sonia, I do blow at it. I do blow at it. Sonia's a man de mo. Sonia's a man de mo. Tous avec la foi pour le développement de Dieu. On est là, Jimmy Bozania, on est là,
In the interest of African solidarity, taking you to neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire for that beautiful African dance sounds. They're going to get this program on the way, trying to establish connection with my guests. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Afonso Z, and so this is Crossfire's regular Saturday edition coming away live right here from the New England Bureau, from the state of the ocean state of Rhode Island. The center of gravity is on this war crime court, like I said, or someone who fell. The finger has been pointed at as maybe the antagonist or the worst enemy of this is Senator Prince Yomi Johnson of Nima County. What is responsible for that? I hope Chief Siri Allen will join me here for us to have this conversation here. I've already sent a link, and hopefully he's going to be here. But let's hear some of the sound bites and how he has put himself on the record so much as they relate to this war crime court.
That was so bad. You don't bust people, can't injure people. What is power? Those who were before us, who were ruling this country and were highly prestigious, where are they now? When you go to Tottenham Farm, 0. You go to Bento, 0. What are you protecting? You can only protect by giving positive advice. You know, I got one good friend in the world. It's not Christ. Here on earth, I got my best friend is my positive critic. The man who look in my face and say, this is what you are doing wrong. But in the case of our regime, when you speak, they brand you all kind of names. They've done that to me. And they will threaten me and say, don't pull out. Because the war crime code is not being signed into law.
Okay, this is one of the things that seems to get on his sleeves, and that's something that can really trigger him from all indications. Even when the scripture, the Bible is in your hands, something like a war crime code, he felt within that he is the most targeted person. And so this kind of get him, it tipped him off, it gets him annoyed a lot. So what is responsible for that? Let's listen.
Because of you. The speaker told me that. Prophet Chima told me that.
Senator Johnson.
You know, I must say it.
Senator Johnson.
Because it's not a fear tactic that will move me from speaking.
Senator Johnson.
Yes, sir. So I grab my weapon.
Not a fear tactics. He feels that his tactics, political tactics, or the name being branded on him as war crime code is one of the things that I think people who don't agree with him has been that here. So let's see here. That was one of their section. Okay, let's get this here and let's see the advice here. He supports. He's one of those that I support the president in the coalition. But let's see some here. He's on record with a lot of things.
With all of the trouble we are faced with right now, I listen to Mr. Bernard Ure, I listen to Aaron Costa, I listen to Honorable Yeke Koluba. Everything they have said boiled down to, we don't want to remove the president, we just want him to do the right thing. Go back to the men of God. The solution is not reshuffling cabinet. Those you call enemies are not their enemies. They are your brothers. They are Liberians. They want to see Liberia move in a straightforward way. If you don't listen to me, I will travel back to Nigeria to seek advice, whether I should continue my support or I should withdraw my support. You have been set aside. You are no more the crowd or the people you used to be with, Mr. President. Start witnessing Chelsea and Barcelona show. Every time I went there, this is all they were watching. I heard just a few days ago the president wanted to do reshuffle. That's good. But you may be moving people you think they buy and putting the worst people that will give you pepper and damage the regime. Go to the Prophet TB Joshua. You went after you succeeded and became president. The very people who are praying for us not to win are the people now we befriend. They become our Holy Father. If we used to drink, let us leave it and live a holy life. If we used to womanize, let us remember today that not every woman is free of being demon possessed. You are now a president, but your regime from its starting is characterized by social demonstration, social trouble. Are you out?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming. Major news of the week is this war crime code following on the float of the comments by Senator Abraham Darros Dillon of Mosorado County did not go well with Nema County Senator Prince Yomi Johnson, who felt that he's been targeted and perhaps he's been bullied with this war crime code. So, we are all out there, and the conversation has been going on extensively inside and outside of Liberia. And of course, all of us have a stake in this war crime code, but the conversations is in different countries, different views and opinions being expressed. And the best way we can perhaps find a solution or come to a resolve is to have this sort of civil conversation, talk to stakeholders, actors, and perhaps some of those people that had participated in the process. The war crime code and the economic crime code, those are two different things, and how they can simultaneously, if they are to be obtained or to go to Liberia on a whole auspice, and how it will look like. So we all have a stake in this conversation because the questions of the war crime code is it's a different thing. It has its own jurisdictions. There are a lot of provisions involved with establishing the war crime code. So for the most part, it appears people just know the surface of it and think that's something that can just come abruptly. Why it is true, people must be held accountable. There are processes involved in initiating or putting the war crime code into place. Under the ICC jurisdiction, the ICC does not have the jurisdiction to go in a country to indict a certain president in that country. You have to be member to that signatory to that accord, and you have to be in another country, and that country should be willing to turn you over. And so it's a sort of dicey process, very, very dicey one here. So, but why African leaders felt, if you go back to 2016, 2022, there are a lot of articles within the Washington Post, Los Angeles Times. These are major news outlets, not Africans or not even a Liberian news outlet. A lot of reservation is being expressed from in the system and out of the system. One of the compositions are because pretty close to a decade now, the feel that African countries or Africa as a whole is being indicted. And no any Western country leader. Remember the issue of Sarajevo. That was then a special tribunal. At that time, the War Crime Code was not even in place. So since then, they are saying why the Western countries are not being targeted, and African countries have had a sense of feelings that they have been targeted, for which South Africa, Somalia, and other countries withdrew from the process. Because during the 2021-22, the visit of former dictator al-Bashir of Somalia during his visit to South Africa, America and other countries, they were heavily to rely on South Africa to have him turned over. That did not work. South Africa did not cooperate in that process. And it seems African countries has come or they are solidified their position. Other countries are out. And so like it seems like African countries are being targeted of this ICC War Crime Court. And there are specific code. There are other provisions that the country in which these atrocities, genocide, these things that constitute a war crime code, they must be committed in that country. And there must be a court established within the confines of that country where potential prosecutors or the court will be established. So it's a very, very, very tedious process. And that has been the process. That has been the problem. A source of Africa to Burundi, that is in 2016, say, you know what, we are getting out of this process here because this seems to be targeting or is aimed at African leaders. That's their beliefs. That's how they feel. And it appears other people seems to be in sympathy with that. And so that has been the problem. Now, in quite a recent time, he has given birth in a section to when Senator Darius Dillon again wake up and said that, and so Senator Prince Johnson felt that he is the only person or why this war crime code. So is it that the African leaders has built this wall within their minds that the war crime code is aimed or they are being targeted? We have listened to him numerous times. He's on record extensively his position when it comes to war crime code. But I can also tell you definitively Liberia it's a divided house because there are those who calling for the war crime code and there are others said no. And we are calling for economic crime code. Economic crime code is not under the jurisdictions of the war crime code. So there are two separate things here. And how can those two be obtained simultaneously at the same time? But there seems to be a collaboration here with those two because the economic aspect has to do with those who may be or who have used resources and finances to execute the war that led to atrocities, genocide, rape, and all of those components that constitute the war crime code. So there is a pattern here. Just bear with me. I'm trying to get my guest here. Let me just take a break here. I'm not sure why he's not getting it, and I want to have him yet. Let's just take a quick commercial break, and I will be right back. Okay, let's see here. Let's go to sweet Liberia.
saved forever. So open up your heart, let the unity begin. Love is all we need to make it stand. Let's cultivate one another. Learn to live together as brothers and sisters. Without togetherness, we won't have a peace of mind. Unify and have a peaceful, sweet Liberia. Land of liberty is our home. Keep it standing. This is the one and only home that we have. Sweet Liberia, this land of liberty.
Yeah, sweet Liberia, land of liberty. Just bear with us. We are trying to do everything possibly we can to establish connection with our special guest, Chief Cyril Allen of the National Patriotic Party, also members of the Governing Council in Liberia, to get his take on the ongoing conversation, his take, his view, and opinion as well. And we hope that he will be able to give this link that we have sent, and so that he will be here for us to have this conversation. So, like I said, there's a divided house, depending who you have this sort of conversations or dialogue with, as to whether they want to come reconciliations or the 1A or not, or there's be some sort of just to be served to those who were tortured, the killings and all of that, and even those who are the financiers. The TRC, should we do it all over? You know, there are other accused, the process being fraudulent process, that has been the argument of Senator Prince Johnson. But the bottom line here is with us, because with us and that of our case is a little bit different from that of by Sierra Leone, because we have most of the actors, if not all, they are all holding state power. So that makes it difficult to see how they can expedite this process and the possibility to even seeking international support if war crime or economic crime courts, the both are to go in Liberia. So that kind of get it a little bit rough, because they are in authority, because they are the one to be talking to friendly to government. But we have seen this talking point in recent time is over the roof. So it is important that those are even seeking national power, that they also should come clean. We did hear that from my former Vice President and Unity Party standard bearer, potential standard bearer for 2023, Joseph Newman Boyka. I'm not sure what has been the definitive positions of the other rest of the parties. The president was arguing during one of his visits from the United States, the United Nations, and he said, why now? So it's like, why wasn't done 12 years ago and you want to bring it here? You are the journalist putting out this soundbite. He wants to talk about development. So that makes it a little bit difficult, because at the end of the day, the national government, the legislature, all branches of government, they must come to a consensus. So this is where the problem is, because the lawmakers, they are not even going during their researches. The research, they don't even go to have a conversation as to what this process, even though there are things already on the board. The TRC has made it clear, but there are other people who still do not have trust and confidence in that report, because the committee members themselves, it was a divided house. And most of them that are coming out now to speak itself tend to muddy this process here, because you were part of the process, you are given chance to make recommendation, you have made this recommendation, so you have to do everything possibly to can. But when you take a definitive position of somebody somebody has committed a war crime code without even using an allege, to be precise, then it appears that you have all of the evidences required. And if this is so, then to present this and do everything possible we can to push this. So should we go back and do it all over again? Was this done comprehensively with, if not 100%, but greater portions of Liberians in and out, views and opinions? They were all incorporated. Do we have those who are willing to come to testify? All of these are consequential questions. And so we need to have an open house conversation about that, because it's a critical one. Yes, people must be held accountable to what they did. But most of the time, sometimes if you listen to people too, they always say, well, these people do not have remorse. If they were to come out here today and say, to be apologetic, will we then allow that to go? So there are a lot of unsettled dust relative to this war crime and economic crime court. There are a lot involved. I hope my guests here get this here for us to get this program on the way. In the meantime, too, I would, this is not just only the actors. I will try to put up the number here until he can join the conversation to get people's reaction or their thought as well on this war and economic crime court. And if it can work, probably we have to call him via phone, just in case. If it can work, then perhaps that would be the second option. Yeah, I think so. That would be the second option. Just bear with me a little bit here. Let me take a quick commercial break and I see if we can establish connection here and find alternative means.
Welcome to Fiber Queen off of Woodland. Everyone that's looking for nice African for wedding, whatever fiber you need, you can just come over here. You have all this nice stuff. If you need ashebi, you guys can come over here for baby shower, for wedding. You guys are welcome. She have really nice stuff. You can see all over there, all those men over here. You don't have to go to the theater and then they're going to be telling you all kind of stories. You can just come here. They're already made. And for ladies, you can just look for whatever fiber you're looking for and match it for the men. And, your husband already have a shirt made. You can get stuff for your kids. You can get stuff for the whole family. We have African slippers and ashobi hair ties all over. We have different kinds of lists and everything. So you guys are welcome, okay? It's really nice. It's Fiber Queen on 6695 off of Woodland. 6625 Woodland Avenue, okay? So you guys are welcome, 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 welcome. You have nice stuff here for ladies, for men, for kids, and for everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention please. Fabric Queen of Philadelphia. Fabric Queen of Philadelphia is 100% African-owned business. At Fabric Queen, we are specialized in high-quality wax product, Swiss lace, jewelry, and beauty products that will make you shine like the queen of fabrics. We are located at 6625 on Woodland Avenue, 10 Philadelphia. Telephone number 215-800-0228. Tell the management. Okay, let's see. Let's provide an alternative means. Joining me now from the nation's capital of Monrovia. Hopefully on the video link work where we can switch is Chief Cyril Allen of the Governing Council and former chair of the National Patriotic Party of the Republic of Liberia. Chief Allen, good evening. Are you there? Hello?
Do you prefer me calling you on the telephone?
Well, whatever works for you. Yeah, that's fine.
I can call you on the telephone back.
Okay, then you should call on this number, the 682 number.
Well, let's try the video and see. Let's see the video.
No, that it can't come through the West. Yeah, I know you're calling, but it can't come through this system. It has to come through the email link that I sent you.
Okay, but then let me go and search for the email link.
Okay, let's do it that way if you can.
Okay.
All right. Okay, well, folks, just bear with us. I know I sent a link, but he finding it difficult. I ordered it out. Let me just get this here while we get it going very shortly. This is LPRO TV with Afonso Z and Soul, live from the New England Bureau of the Liberia Public Radio. In today's discussion, we will highlight high-call issues from the motherland, Republic of Liberia, and issues affecting our community. Asking tough questions is vital to me to have my listeners and viewers informed with the sole purpose of demanding answers that are authentic and meant to be head-scratching situation. Oh yes, to add pageantry to the conversation, senior analysts and contributors of the Liberia Public Radio are here to dissect the conversation. From Baltimore, senior analyst Professor Asese Labozalo, CEO, Real Academy and Gideon's Polytechnic Academy in Liberia. Senior contributor Amos George is in Atlanta, Georgia, a critical thinker and critic of the GOL, and opposition LPR TV foreign affairs analyst Leo Johnson's executive director, Empowerment Square, based in Canada, and president, Liberian Community in Canada. And on the radar is LPR TV, liberal progressive, and host conversations with Sam Saint Blackpool Brown Toe in Studio B in Saxton, Sacramento, California, is also on the radar. And of course, the doyen, former state broadcaster.
Katwae! What does it mean to be a woman? A black woman, an African woman, a Liberian woman?
To be a Liberian woman is Jiglunu, which means remember. Remember that you are strong because of your experiences, and to always be true to who you are. Yakama Jiglunu. Bonife, Menegaga, Yenyengu Sui, Yawega, Kodilai.
So I'm Alice Johnson Hina, and I'm gonna talk to you on failing and not giving up.
Mwanjama, Joeyo, Mwanjama, Yanjoeyo, Mwanjama, Joeyo, Mwanjama. Kake Liberia Musofindi, Wole Wudin, Ka Anna Talifo, Maliata. Being a Liberian woman means telling our story, our own story with no apologies and authentically.
She brave. Oh baby.
Farafi muso kolo eminere. Labia muso kolo eminere. Muso lojan.
You are beautiful. Liberians, we have a unique culture, good food, beautiful clothing, music, marriages, languages, how we sit at the table, how we greet our elders. Let's keep our culture alive. To my fellow Liberian women out there, I want to encourage you today. Know that you are beautiful, you are strong, you are brave, you are intelligent. Stop holding back. Stand up and be a part of history making. And to my Liberian Canadian women, I encourage you to join the team. Join the team, bring your ideas, and we will merge our ideas into a very big one and use it to impact other women all over the world. I want to send a message out to the ladies too that participated in this unique occasion. Thank you so much. Your bold step has sent out a powerful message out there to other women. Let's continue to encourage each other. I want to say thank you all so much for standing tall every time.
That's the voices of Liberians, women in neighboring Canada echoing their messages, united. Liberian women, they are very talented, they are very creative, and so there's no way that we can leave them out in the process. We want to thank the Liberian Community Associations, Association, courtesy the national president, a young and progressive guy, Leo Johnson of the Empowerment Square, for that beautiful commercial from the Liberian Women Association based in Canada. Just bear with us. Hopefully we'll guess. I'm not sure what's going on, but they've done everything possible that we can. So let me just put this number out here while we await him as well. We can have this here so that people can call in as well on this war crime court. I mean, that's the eye-catching conversation right now in the media industry as well. So we have to, I'm not sure why he called in on this other number. Just bear with us here. Just bear with me here. I'm not sure. I'm sending all the communication.
I just want to thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, we're catching a little bit tough time here. Please, and that's Liberia. Communication is a challenge there too. So internet and all of that. But he's one of those always make himself available when it comes to answering or talking some of these tough questions. So let's see. For some reason, he cannot get access to the email. Okay, let's see here. Okay, hello.
Yes, good afternoon.
Okay, Chief Cyril Allen, good afternoon. Thank you for going extra mile to get this work. And it's not your fault. Technology sometimes kind of like disappoint people. But I thank you for calling in. Good evening. How are you?
I'm very well, Alfonso. Good afternoon. I wish well to all those who are listening to you. It's unfortunate that we could not go through the regular internet.
Right.
In the hinterland, I'm in Bond County attending the funeral service of Richard Flomo.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah, we're going through the traditional ceremonies.
Oh, okay.
So I just took time aside to speak with you. Please go ahead.
Okay, quickly, let's get to this issue here quickly, Chief Allen here. Look, this is an old conversation but for some reason it has rejuvenated and he has become a talking point in and outside of Liberia. And that has to do with this war crime court and economic crime court. You are one of the stakeholders. I guess you're hearing this conversation. And another position on your part?
Any what?
Do you have any definitive position? Are you in support of the war crime and economic crime court that is being discussed in and outside of Liberia?
Well, I'm in support of every and anything that will bring harmony, peace, and stability to our country. That is my mission. If Liberia is peaceful and there's harmony prevailing, I'm very happy. If there's anything that's going to upset the tranquility and peace of our country, then we have to avoid that as much as possible. In line with the war crime court, that's one thing. I mean, the court, why war crime court? And there are two separate things. The economic crime is a different thing, and I understood some people talking about retroactive and all that. That is all good and well. You're talking about the crime court, also that's good and well. But you know the tendency in Liberia is that you have a lot of people short-circuiting the process with misinformation, misrepresentation, and all that. That's one. And the second thing is there is a legislation. I don't know whether you all are reading it. Mm-hmm. There is a legislation granting amnesty to all war infractions and all war infraction leaders. That is on the books as law. Now, in order to address the work, I don't know why Allen White and Ben are not looking at the internal affairs of our country. They are not looking at the law. You say the government of the country should abide by the laws of the country. There is a legislation granting amnesty. Now, it has to be able to get into war crimes and all that, and you have to repeal that act first. The first mission is for them to endeavor to get the national legislature to repeal the act. When the act is repealed or redrafted or whatever, then there can be a corridor and avenue for consideration of a war crime code. But in the absence of that, in order to do that, as soon as the government begins to do that, I'm certain that some people will go to court and say you are violating the Constitution. There is law here. And unless you have repealed this law, you cannot go one step further. So it's a what I call catch-22 situation, where it is both unfavorable and undesirable to proceed with that. People out there, like Alan White and some of the other people who are pushing this, you know their reason is very quite clear. They are looking for another alibi for them to train their young lawyers in practice, like they did in Sierra Leone. Thousands of them went there for training. Yes, but you cannot do that at the risk of instability in Liberia. So it has to be done with a cautious wisdom. I'm in support that people should account for what happened during the war. There are families that are grieving. There are individuals who are concerned that others are walking around with impunity. Some are top officials in government walking around still with that level of impunity. And we need to address it either by the Palawa Hut situation. You have to have the will to do that, or you have to now proceed with repealing the law and getting the action on board for a war crimes court, whatever you do that. Well, whichever way you do that, I'm in support of stability in the country. But yesterday, I was talking to the leaders of the traditional society, of the 4 or 5 traditional societies that were present in Bond County. And most of them are still grieving and upset that many individuals from warring factions entered into the groves, the traditional groves, and desecrated the traditional societies. They were not members, but they entered there with arms and beat up the Zoos and beat up the elders and beat up the chiefs and all that. And they are very upset about that and want something to be resolved so that they can be satisfied, at least some consideration be given to their complaints. So these are things that they have been complaining about for years and years, right from the Taylor administration through the Salid administration. The traditional societies have been complaining about the desecration of their traditional values and whatnot. That's one group of people. Then there are other groups who have been, overlooked and undermined in the whole process. So it is very important that as a government and as a group of people, Liberians, we sit together and synchronize our system here and work together to try to get this thing behind us, because it is still ahead of us. So the administration came in for 12 years, reconciliation did not occur. Complete reconciliation did not occur. So another 3 years have gone. We need to get involved with this and get this matter closed. We know it happened. There are facts that occur here. The TRC have gone and made recommendations. They have made some suggestions and recommendations that are workable. Consideration should be given to some of these things.
So Chief Allen, so Chief Allen, let me just hold you here. The TRC has made some recommendations, and those recommendations are workable. Which one of those are not workable?
Well, I do not know. Which is not workable. I mean, the fact that people were banned from political activities and people have been participating, winning elections and going ahead. Certain persons were banned. Are you going to remove them from office, or what are you going to do? Some of these things are not practical. You know, we have to do things that are easy to do. We have to be guided by the constraints that govern human conduct and the constraints that govern our society laws. There's a way to approach these things. Some of them are workable. Definitely, some of them are quite easy to implement and get it going. The Palawa Hut system that was recommended could be done in various counties and at the constituency level, and could be settled at that level. We have 73 constituencies. Designate a group of responsible Liberians that will pass whatever nomination and go into the various constituencies, set up the Palawa Hut system, and let people give in their complaints and listen to them and look for means to resolve them.
Yeah, so let me ask you, Chief Allen, the alert you lay out here, and I'm not sure what I have obtained a definitive answer to say, yes, it needs to come, people should be held accountable, but there are some hooks you already attached. So you are also a member of the governing council of Versailles CDC led government. Do you think extensive conversations or dialogue ongoing by all branches of government to come to a resolve of it, or do you think we need to go all over to start it again? Where do you stand?
No, I don't think we need to go and start it over again. A lot of money and time and effort was invested in the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. That, by the way, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission was a recommendation of the MPP government at the Accra Accord. That was written in his own handwriting by former President Taylor during the time I was head of negotiations in Accra. That was one of the things that were put on the table. It was necessary to do that, to get a Truth and Reconciliation Commission to look into some of the things that happened. At the same time, there was promulgated a law granting amnesty. So these are two situations that need to be synchronized, and then we need to work out a means through the legislature. The legislature has a major role to play. They are the one representing the interests of the people. They are the one nominated and elected by the people. They need to go back to their people and get a census of things that people want done in this whole process, and then come back to the national legislature at plenary and put them forward for consideration and decisions. This is the way a responsible legislature would work in the wake of what is prevailing in the country. We need to do that instead of bickering among themselves about who gets what and who doesn't get what and who is not. Let them put together their minds, get to their people, get some consensus from their people on this exercise, and then make recommendations to the national government so that they can be able to make the budgetary allocation and the structure in place to be able to address this issue. Not for people in Europe and America to be imposing on Liberia, this president must leave the office, and then pandemonium come in. This president must do this, and this president must. You cannot compel a national government to go through something simply because one civilian administrator in the United States said that. These things have
who was that surveillance? Who was that surveillance administrator? Is that being political?
Alan White is there bickering about war crimes code. We welcome the idea, but I don't think it is him to do that. He's becoming personal about this. They're trying to blame government.
So who should champion
the government 3 years ago for not doing what he wants them to do? It is unfair for them to conduct themselves in that manner.
So it sounds like when the president also returned from the United States, he said, the journalists, you are the guys that are pushing this here. He focuses on development. That is a sort of indication too that the government is somehow, some way paying some sort of deaf ear. It said that there are people embedded in the system and they are afraid if this comes to Liberia, they could be rooted out.
No one should be afraid of that. No Liberian should be afraid of that.
Are you afraid of war crime code and economic crime code, Chief Allen?
Why should I? I have no reasons to be afraid of that, and no one is intimidated by that. And it is a good idea to harmonize things in this country and get some stability and peace among our people. Let's pass this reconciliation. It has not been put into effect. It needs to be an effective tool of national development and peace and reconciliation. Without hearing this issue out at either at the Palabra level or at whatever jurisdictional level, once it is heard out and passed, that's put behind us. In the absence of that, it has not been done in the last 12 years. It was not done it's not been done in the last 3 years. There must be a mechanism worked out and put in place so that reconciliation and some sort of justice can come to the minds of people for their loved ones and those communities and societies and traditional societies that were infiltrated and were hurt by that. There are families that are grieving over the fact that they know the people that cause havoc to their families, and these people are moving around. Let them be specific about that. What we want to avoid in Liberia is for witch hunt to start, where people start pointing fingers and lying and misrepresenting things and damaging the credibility and reputation of some innocent people. We don't want that to happen in our country also, because that is another formula for disaster.
So let me
need to hunt people.
So Chief Allen, let me use a case study here. If it is ridiculous, just bring me to the point as you usually. When you talk about pointing finger, if name Senator Prince Johnson, George Bulley, Alhaji Jivri Kroman, and the list goes on and on. If those names are mentioned, is that pointing finger?
No, these are the leaders of warring faction. History has recorded it. Most of them have been on radio, television, international wires, and claiming to be the leaders of warring faction. There are certain warring parties that could committed atrocities. The Black Beret with Amos Sawyer and Samokai, Brani Samokai, and then that's another fraction too. The LPC, you name them. Many of them, the Lord, the Model, all these people. Model damaged a $30 million plywood and veneer plant in Grand Bassa County. The damage of a $17 million rubber plastic plant with 500 kVA generators in the free zone. These are industries. The industries were not fighting wars. So that is a ground for economic fines and other things under a system. But all these things are here. These are historical facts that happen. They can be brought to the table too. During the TRC, most of these things were mentioned. They are part of the report. They are part of the complaints. Most of the complaints are in there. And some of those complaints that are of a high frictional nature could be picked out and addressed, step by step, recommendation by recommendation, and then we'll start getting some semblance of some reprieve for those people who are hurt. I think it's important that happens. The national government too of Liberia is bleeding. A lot of people from the past and present former regimes have committed economic atrocities. They are going with impunity. The oil company is broken down.
Which government specific? Chief Allen,
the industries are broken down and people pillage the national economy. So these things need to be reviewed and rehearsed.
Okay, so Chief Allen, which government specifically you are making reference that they are cause economic crime as well? Which government are you referring to?
Every government in the past. If you want to start going back, every government in the past, including of elements in government, including the Taylor administration. I came out as a party chairman and threatened to resign because there was mass corruption in the system. And I called it. I mentioned names of individual ministers and cabinet positions that were not representing the interests of the government as we put in our platform. I mentioned that.
Yeah, I know.
At least in the Talib administration also, I pinpointed individuals who were pillaging the economy through public corporations, through ministries and agencies. Expensive trips, 97 trip travels of $250,000 per trip for the president, and these kind of things. Where $12 million spent on the executive mansion, you cannot even get on one floor after spending $12 million. All these kind of things.
So why the government
that need to be re-examined and looked at? So all the governments, not anyone in particular. I'm not pointing fingers at no individual government. Liberians have been responsible for that, and it is not government. Don't mention government. It is the attitude of Liberians towards work.
But when you were counting, when you were outlining the laundry list here, Chief Allen, I didn't hear the very institutions you work for, and I do know there was some rough edges with you and Taylor when you took their position, but I didn't hear NPP. I heard Model, I heard Larry, I heard Ulimo, and I didn't hear
NPF. The biggest one. I mentioned that INPFL with Prince Johnson. You call Alhaji Kroman, then that's why I said these are all leaders of warring factions. That included, but not limited to the MPFL, which was the largest warring faction. I do not exonerate myself. I'm not here to come and defend or exonerate anyone for what happened in Liberia. We are all contributors. All Liberians, people, no government come here and say, let go Steve. So it is the individuals in government. I want to specify that. Liberians have an attitude of being unpatriotic. They have an attitude of not being diligent in the discharge of their duties. They have an attitude of abusing public office. These are all acts of corruption. People think only stealing from government is an act of corruption. Abuse of public office, putting the wrong people in the wrong jobs, unequal pay for equal work. These are all aspects of corruption and should be addressed on a broad basis. Everything by everything, stealing is stealing. Stealing is an act of corruption, just one of the 17 acts of corruption. And people do not know that, you see. So you don't pinpoint any government. I don't care about any government. I care about Liberians, individual Liberians who are appointed to positions, who think that they have the right and use their positions as a means to abuse public office and squander national government funds without performing their duties. It is prevalent in government. It's been that from before when we were boys and girls in high school. We're talking about that. We came to government. We kept talking about it. We are still talking about it now. We talked about it during the Saliba administration. Liberians have a bad attitude. As soon as they get in government and close to the president and close to the leaders of the country, they begin to use that as an alibi to rob the Liberian people. Legislators are giving projects, county development projects. They squander these money. They don't build schools. They don't build hospitals. They don't build town halls. You know, these are some of the things that go in there and mortgage the natural resources of our country to foreign investors and take bribes. These things must stop in the country. That's why development cannot be expanded in our country. Legislators do the same thing. I mean, the past built that for 50 years, you grant a concession, and the concessionaires are not doing their work. No one there to put their feet to the fire because they have been compromised. This is what happened to Liberia. You come in, you take money, and you say you stop the timber industry. You get 25,000 Liberians out of job from the timber industry. And the money that's given to government is used to sponsor foreign trips and big shot positions.
Are these trips, Chief Allen,
Chief Allen,
yes. Are we having these Lazarus trips still ongoing as we speak, do you think?
Well, things are happening. Of course, things are happening. It's Liberians in job. It's not a government that decides to rob the people. No government coming with a platform to rob the people. It is Liberians who get into jobs, who adapt the tendency of being unpatriotic. They abuse their public offices. They squander national government money. They abuse funds and things like that. And even
so, why are these people
that work for them?
Knowing all what we know and what we are hearing? You formerly work with AIN. You are still within the system. I don't know the statute of limitation with the governing council here. So why the government does not have the authority to look at this issue here? And so let me sound a little bit ridiculous here. Which category, if I may ask, you fall in? War crime or economic crime court? If it were to come to Liberia, where do you think you want to, if you were called to be testify?
I don't know wherever they call me, I'll go and testify. If I'm called in, I committed no war crimes. I've never been anywhere and a judge working. I work as president of the iron ore mining company, Liminco. I worked as managing director of the refinery, managing director of hydrocarbon, national chairman for investment commission, chairman of the board of RIA, chairman of the board of national insurance. I've done all these jobs. There's nowhere I've worked that money.
So are you?
Or there been any audit? So I don't have any fears.
Are you prepared to?
I don't have any fears.
Chief Allen, are you prepared to be audited?
Of course, wherever I work, I was audited. The audit report on every time I work somewhere. When I'm leaving the office, I didn't work anywhere for more than 2 years. There was an annual audit before I turned over. I don't work like that. I have a different orientation, a different discipline. I know how to make money. I made money in this country. Actually, my people in America and others that know me, I made money from my 20s. From the age of 25, I was already a wealthy man. So I do not need government jobs. I've come in to serve 1 or 2 years to make my presence felt in government where I was called upon. But I've never worked for government. I made all my money in the private sector before the war and after
How can
the war.
you say that working for the Liberian Petroleum Refining Company, it's one of the huge components in bringing revenue and to boost what is happening? Why would you say you didn't make no earning money in government? That's an autonomous agency, fair to mention. So
No.
are you saying you...
Yeah, but an autonomous agency, the head of an autonomous agency have responsibilities and commitment. When I was head of the LPRC, I was importing my own petroleum products. So there was a broad-based margin for me to make money without touching.
Was it at the time you were managing director or prior being managing director?
Prior to do what?
You said you were importing petroleum products. So I'm asking whether it was prior to being managing director or it was you were at that job before you started that process as well.
Before I became managing director of LPRC, I was managing director of National Hydrocarbon Corporation. I brought in 3,000 metric tons of petroleum products, supplying 12 timber companies and 2 rubber processing plants in Greater Liberia. I brought in over 390,000 gallons of petroleum product, tons of petroleum product over the period. And I accounted $18 million for that at hydrocarbon. That was during the war. But when I came back to LPRC, it was very quite clear there was an audit report from the transitional government at the time before I turned over to I think Louis Brown or one of them during the transitional government. So I don't have any skeletons. Listen, I'm prepared to be audited. That's not the issue here. The issue is how do we get stability and reconciliation in Liberia and conclude that in the shortest possible time? That is what I'm concerned about.
The stability.
I'm more concerned about that than individuals.
So if we were to ask you in terms of stability and peace reconciliations, what could be the role model or roadmap that you could put forward? Are they not talking about war crime code, economic crime code? Do you see that as not being peaceful process or what?
I think a middle range approach to this. You see, we do not have to follow the standards of America. Most of you in the States and other places think that Liberia can follow those same standards and regulations that they have in the United States, where they have law and order and they have a system in place.
So why can't we, Chief Allen, why can't we have law and order in Liberia? Why can't we have law?
We do not have, my brother, you answer the question, Alfonso. It is because of the attitude and tendency of Liberians towards Liberia. Read the social media, and you will know how Liberians feel about their country, how destructive and derogatory statements and what they make about their national leaders. You decide that. Why cannot there be law and order in Liberia? It's because of the indiscipline of 2 or 3 generations of people that are not going through the proper disciplinary process.
Is there something? But I can tell you, Chief Allen, America is no exception in as much as there are other things taking place here. But there are administrators, there are people that are in charge to make sure that there is law and order. Are they doing their job? Is it being done? Is it being properly executed, or is being selective? And this is why giving rise to some of these things that we are having this conversation about.
When you talk about selective, think about America, where you are at the most sectionalistic and divided place you can dream of there, where justice is done by race and color and creed and things like that. So there's no system perfect. Absolutely not. And
that I agree with. Fair to mention.
Exception to that. But Liberians, we have to now, being a small society, we need to get our traditional values. We need to look at our laws and blend these things together and harmonize them so that we can use the best means possible to resolve our conflicts here. We do not have to follow Alan White with war crime code or economic crime code, where they go and get billions of dollars to make money for themselves. We do not have to follow that procedure. We have our traditional way of solving some of these disputes, and I think the earlier we come to our home and do it, the better it will be. The more destructive it will be, it will begin to follow internationally accepted regulations and rules and follow the standards by international gangsters who want to make money by setting up courts and tribunals all over the world without any results. They don't submit themselves to that. They don't try their national leaders that cause damages in other countries, that go and destroy countries in the Middle East and in the Arab countries and destroy African countries and select leaders and undermine them and destroy them, kill their children and break up their societies. Those people do not submit themselves to war crimes court.
Those fingers seem to be directed at the United States of America, Chief Allen.
United States and some European parties. That's what they do. They go around
Dr.
with impunity, destroying countries and whatnot. They don't submit themselves to international criminal justice. And this is unfair for them to be pointing fingers at a poor country, a government that's trying to bring development to its people, begin to suppress it and subdue it to bring pandemonium in a country. It's unfair for people to conduct themselves.
Do you see?
That's what I mean.
So, Chief Allen,
Liberians should be responsible enough to conduct themselves in a way, use our traditional values and blend it with the possibility of getting peace and harmony. Our traditional people know how to do it. They can bring people down and tie them down and get them to confess and admit, and then bring some restoration of peace and reconciliation to the country.
So do you see
in the Niger Criminal Code and go spend $100 million to build a complex there, like a jail in Sierra Leone, $3 or $4 billion, and then nobody's using it, and the economy in Sierra Leone is suffering? They could have given that money to the country. A country would have been developed. When people are happy and in harmony and have jobs and opportunities, they don't make fuss about things. When people are hungry and desperate, then you hear some of these things. So they must allocate the resources they have for war crimes code, economic crime code, to helping our traditional people in traditional values, just as they did the land law. That was a very good way. Some Americans were here. They went to the traditional people, discussed with them, and got the inside of that, and drafted a very decent land act that is helping the country today.
So let me ask you, Chief Allen. Chief Allen, let me ask you. You know the rules of this network here. Do you see Dr. Allen White as a turn influence in the peace process in Liberia? By he been very forceful on this war and economic crime code. Do you see that as undermining the peace process in Liberia?
I don't see Allen White as anybody that can undermine the peace process in Liberia. As far I know him to be a schemer, a gangster, and somebody want to extort money from Liberians, Prince Johnson, Ben Uri, and all these people trying to free them from travel ban and asset freeze and all that. That's not he doesn't have the moral rectitude.
Who is pushing? Who do you think is pushing? Who do you think is pushing Alan White?
I don't know who's pushing. I don't care who's pushing him. I think it's coming from some of the same people who are the ones who are causing the problem in Liberia with all this Black Beret group and all those other people from the transitional government who lobby around in America trying to bring down Liberia instead of improving Liberia. They have good friends in the American Senate and other places. They should use them to help Liberia. They should get international investors in America and to bring industries and factories to clean our people.
Let me ask you.
Our raw material into finished product. Get together and bring some used industries and used factories and come to Liberia. Labor is inexpensive and help us to process our raw materials into finished and semi-finished product, create jobs and skills for our people. That's what we want from the people in the diaspora. We don't want this kind of gangsterism of going on TV and radio and trying to point fingers at government, telling our Senate why we are this meddling.
So Chief Allen.
Excuse me, Alfonso. For anyone to tell us that that the Senate of Liberia go and decide, for example, appoint Prince Johnson as chairman of this national security team. What do they have to do with what happens in the Liberian Senate? It's meddling. It's meddling in the internal affairs of a nation. It's unacceptable. Because Prince Johnson, I'm somebody who's chairman of a committee on the Senate, has no impact on national government decision making. Prince Johnson supported the head of the same committee for 12 years.
But there would be defense. I think Uncle saying
she won all the international accolades for peace and stability in Liberia. So what difference does it make now that we are his president and you are telling him that Prince Johnson on the same committee he served for 12 years is unacceptable? And you cannot do things like that. It is just it's unfair for people to practice.
Chief Allen, Chief Allen, you know, America, that's a very strategic position there. Like America's and Liberia bilateral, of course, defense intelligence sharing, that is also paramount into the process here. So why would you say that they do not have anything to do with that? When America is one of the highest donors in training, in restructuring the armed forces of Liberia, providing the logistics and making sure that AFL is up to the task. So why would you say that?
AFL is up to the task. They have been trained. The money was invested in that way. We have a stable army.
By whom?
Very good.
So by whom?
By whoever, by the international community.
Why can't you call? Why you don't want to call America name when it comes to that?
But America assisted also. They had the military officers. I'm on the ground, Alfonso. I haven't left here. They've been part of all that process. You know, but you can be a part of the process and part of the problem also. And that's what I'm saying. If you understand what is happening in Liberia and you're aware, you see most of the information filtering into the ears of those in America, it's all negative and it's substandard because people do not investigate properly. They make their reports based on sentiments that they hear from people in beer parlors.
Are those reports? Are those reports transparent? Are those reports the reports you are making reference to? Are they transparent? Because when you're given a report and the report is transparent, it gives less talking.
Take for example, the same Alan White told you a few years ago that Charles Taylor had $3.7 billion in a bank account in Switzerland. And as soon as he surrendered, they're going to turn the money over to Liberia. Today, no, there's no such bank account.
Why the government of Liberia is not making that argument? You are a member of the governing council. Don't you think that should be some sort of advice to the government if Helen Johnson-Sirleaf did not do that?
There's no need to throw caution into the wind. There's no such account. There have never been any such account. If there was an account of that nature with billions of dollars in it, they would have turned that over to the Liberian people a long time because they won't tell us that they're giving out aid and loan and World Bank. They will say you have $3 billion here. We're going to disperse.
As the government of Liberia, do you think they have flagged that situation?
But why do you think Ellen Sirleaf was there for 12 years? Why didn't you ask her whether they pursued it? Because they were the one that published that. Global Witness published that. You have the Global Witness report. It is there. I'm not making up these things. You see, so some of these information are not credible. When you tell people these kind of things and they believe you, later on you come because you are America or because you are good, people should believe you. It's not that. The world is smaller now.
So from what I'm
electronic, it's electronic now. You can see everything clear. You cannot make a statement that this bank account has X amount. You contact the Swiss bank. They have never heard of this account number. And you are publishing that on the international media. And people are believing it, that there are billions for Liberia. Jack Klein told me in Accra, we have a floating ship here that worth $30 million. As soon as you sign this agreement, this Accra Accord, we are going to bring the ship to Liberia, electrify the whole of Monrovia. Jack Klein told me that. I have that recorded since 2003. Hey, well, what are you talking about?
So, Chief Allen,
some of the things that don't believe. So most of the things you hear, my brother, because nowadays it is people are looking for their own living and their own money, and they use poor countries as a means of spinning the wheel and generating taxpayers' money in America and other places, and use them for other reasons.
So, Chief Allen, let me ask you. Let me ask you. I've been hearing Senator Prince Johnson. I'm not sure why he feels so targeted or so paranoid with his war crime code, and he's been being very, very vehement to say that nothing going to even come to Liberia. It's not going to work because the process is a fraud, in his word, and it's not going to happen. Are you in agreement with what you're saying?
How is it going to happen? When, first of all, Senator Johnson and them in the Senate have to repeal the law. When they repeal that law, then they put into motion the process for that. It's not something that's going to happen right now. People are acting like they can say, "Oh, establish war crime code, it starts tomorrow." No, it's not. It's not going to be that. I don't know why Prince is intimidated by that. I mean, he's welcome to be. Maybe he has skeleton in his cupboard. We all know them, but I mean, there's nothing to be intimidated about. It's a war crime code. It's a war crimes code. An economic crime code is a separate and distinct code. And those people who are called for whatever audit reasons that they have, or whatever document, code of competent jurisdiction with proper document and information can proceed. I don't have anything against that. I'm not jittery about that. I mean, I'm happy if that kind of thing can come to Liberia at this one time, but not as easy as saying it. I'm a realist. Alfonso, I always tell people two things. I'm too old to tell a lie, and I'm not afraid to die. So I'm already a successful man.
That sounds like
I'm too old to lie to anybody, and I'm not afraid to die.
That sounds like a political statement, Chief Allen.
But that's not a political statement. That's a real statement. If it's political, it is, but it's real. I'm too old. I'm 70 years old. I'm too old to be afraid of anything. You know, and to tell lies. What lying for what? And I'm not afraid to die because I stayed in the war for 12 years. If I was afraid to die, I wouldn't have been there. I would have been in America or Europe somewhere where I had enough things to sustain my family and be there. But I chose to be here. So I have facts on the ground. Some of the facts that I have, no one has it. I told the TRC some of the facts.
So why can't you make those facts? Why can't you make those?
Samuel Doki was killed. I told them how David Dwyer. I told them how Jackson Doe and David Tway, all these people were killed in the early parts of the June 1990.
So
who record that?
Who did that?
They don't want to record those kind of things. They want to record what they want to record, like somebody putting a 42 kilowatt generator, bomb mine generator,
so Chief Allen,
megawatt generator on a truck and send it to Burkina Faso. Is that possible?
So who did that? Those records, do you consider them as a public record that you can make them available for those who don't know to know that?
It's with the TRC. It's with the TRC. It's all in the report. Let people read the reports if they want to. I had seven days of testimony. I had 7 series. Look on the YouTube. It's there. So I'm in testimony. It's not something they're hiding. It's written. It's on YouTube right now. They're still playing it. Now they got.
So do you think Do you think your testimony? I saw a greater portion of those. Do you think your testimony wasn't paid? It wasn't paid heed to, or what?
Well, my brother, they didn't have to pay heed to me. I just had to go there and speak the truth on the oath. I don't care whether anybody responds to what I said. I told the reality. I told people exactly what happened. And because I had.
Do you still have more information other than the testimony? Do you have more of those information other than the testimony that were provided to TRC?
We got a lot more information. A lot more. I said I was off age and I was in my 40s during the war.
So
mind you, so I mean,
are you still willing?
Are you still willing
to share? Are you still willing to share those information?
Those information are already shared on video. It's in you on YouTube.
No, I mean, I'm asking the remaining one. If there's any, and you say, yeah, you have more. So I'm asking, do you have more to still share if we were to start all over again?
Of course. I mean, if you tell the truth, you can repeat it. If when you're lying, then you have disparity. So once you are speaking the truth on any situation and you give an accurate account of it, if you ask 10 times, you repeat the same thing. That is the big difference. Okay. In speaking the truth and telling lies. But let's get back to the situation on the ground here. Mm-hmm. It is very important that Liberians understand that it's not a thing to wake up in the morning because Allen White say or John Brown or Peter Paul say do this and we'll forget about our peace and our stability and our laws and proceed to act in accordance with what sentiments say. Most of these sentiments are some of the things that brought war to the country. That's some of the sentiments and things that people say. They're killing people and they're murdering people. They throw 400 baby in a well. All those kind of things that made people angry and made some people in the States and other places collect money to support warring factions to come and defend their people. So this kind
that has been the talking point of Senator Prince Johnson's allege, even though we haven't seen something that they are the AFL or he claimed to be the Doso Youth committed those sort of atrocities, and on those things he was defending his kingsmen.
Well, yes, I've campaigned for the past 10 years in Nimba County, and I see that the people of Nimba County support Prince Johnson for whatever reason. They think he's a savior, and he redeemed them through the MPFL, of course. I mean, the MPFL and the IMPFL. He redeemed his people, and they believe that. And there's no way that you are going to go to Nimba County now. Of course, all the people in Nimba do not agree with that. I can tell you a good percentage of the people in Nimba do not subscribe to Senator Johnson as a hero. But quite a strong number of people, majority of the people in Nimba County, especially in the interior and the hinterland, look at Prince Johnson as a savior. So be that as it may, you may have different opinion. Whoever is talking about war crime may have a different opinion. But the people of Nimba County have their opinion, and they are going to support that. Other counties too, the people of Grand Jude, they consider Boli and some of their people as their heroes, and because they defended them from infiltration of other warring factions. Alaji Kroma, you have the Mandingos and the Sosos and the Fulas, they are all here. They felt they were protected and defended by Alaji Kroma and the Ulimo group. And you have another group of Crown people who honor the Roosevelt Johnson faction. They are in the Lofa Defense Force also. Some of the members are still here, very prominent in the country. I think when the situation come up, you'll hear some strange names. But we're just telling you this thing so that you can understand that each group of people feel that the leaders of these factions in their area or tribe were their saviors. And with me and you cannot change that, so we can pick about it all day. The Europeans, the Americans can talk about it all day. They have their own opinion about that.
Do you think
consider their opinion by sampling before you make a determination on how to proceed?
So let me ask you here, you work in other public, private, and you have in touch with government here. This is a very volatile situation here. Do you think these people that are still alive should come out to be some sort of remorseful and apologetic? If that happens, will we move forward? Because if you ask other people, some of them, they are still hitting their head. They are still banking their head, giving justifications of their action. And this is where people are like getting a little bit annoyed to say, hey, wait a minute. We are not saying the human side of these people. Are they going wrong? And you seems to be in disagreement with the assertions of Senator Prince Johnson. I don't know whether it's a conspiracy on his part to get his base energized to say, yeah, this is the guy who was there for all. He stood for us. Been saying, babies were put in the well. And as a leader, when he says it, people potentially believe it. Do you disagree with that statement?
No, I disagree with that. Let me tell you, people in Liberia must be remorseful. Every one of us who were involved in the war has, at one point or another, apologized to the Liberian people for even being involved with the war. A responsible citizen like me, involved in the war, making financial contribution to a war. If something comes out that is negative, I should be able to say, listen, I'm very sorry.
Including yourself?
That at the PRC, excuse me, I've said that at the PRC. Even former President Taylor, just 2 days ago, me and him were on the telephone. And when he was reminding me of the statement that he made to the Liberian people and said, if I have injured anyone personally, I apologize for that. I apologize also to the Liberian people for the ones that were under my command. Taylor said that during his exit speech. So what stopped anybody else in Liberia from being left small, mushroom war infractions to come out and tell the people of Liberia, we are sorry. Go to Vahum and tell the people in Vahum, we are sorry. We infiltrated people got injured. We infiltrated the Liberian Traditional Society. We apologize to the society people. We came in through Lofa, we did this. We came in through Buchanan, we destroyed culture and whatnot. We want to apologize to the people. If the leaders can come up and take this type of positive position for and on behalf of their groups and bring some of their group leaders with them, that would be a way to start. But when Liberians are not remorseful, you work, you mentioned economic crime, goes on other minister on the other side of Sally, government start telling you we didn't see any money and everybody is making noise and whatnot, because we know that these things happen in the country.
So why if so then this is so then this is where the distrust is coming from, Chief Allen. I'm coming 1 second. If you know these people stole and they did all of that, why government are not holding these people responsible? Is this a sort of a vicious cycle we want to be having? Helen Johnson Sally did it, nothing going to happen. And so we end when CDC and the collaboration team leave, nothing going to happen. And I have no end. I doubt that even whoever going to win it, we're going to live with this sort of culture of impunity, things happening, and we'll let it go.
It's unfair. It's unfair. This is Liberia. That's what's happening in this country. Regimes come after regime. And these audit reports are all swept under the rug. As soon as people get their jobs, they forget about the possibility of funds that were missing before they came in, and they begin their own range of taking and carrying. So this is it. I mean, audit reports are necessary, but you see, in order to charge people for economic crimes, you have to have independent audit reports. When you have these things, you can use them as an alibi to sponsor an economic crime a model. That model can then boomerang into something else, and other things can come from it. But the systematic approach to problem solving.
What would constitute
and talking about it on radio and TV is going to make it happen. It makes it more and more impossible to happen because Liberians do not have the will.
What would constitute? What would actually constitute the independence of such a committee in your view?
What would constitute that?
Yes.
I think you have to, for example, in the last TRC report, I was concerned about it. When I got before the TRC, I told them clearly, I said, it's good that they have nominated all of you here to serve on the TRC, but you're going back as far back as 1980s, you people are not competent enough, are not clothed with authority. None of you are of the age limit. Only Gerald Coleman was near that because me and him are of the same age, and we knew the revolution way back when we were freshmen at LU from 1970. So he was he was informed to be able to ask questions. And you could see that his questions were quite relevant and different. But other questions were sentimental because of the lack of experience and exposure to what happened at the time. And you should have gotten some Supreme Court judges, some former judges, retired members of the society to sit on that committee, and they will be able to make reference to Samuel Doe time. They will make reference to the Moja days and that, you know, and the Revolutionary Vanguard for African Liberation and all those groups, the Covington United Student Government, the LU, SOUP government, and all those things were factors that led to the walk and the coup. So you need to understand the details of those to be able to make informed decisions or ask relevant questions in regard to the TRC reporting. So they were shortchanged. I think how to constitute that committee is to get elder people, not anything against the youth. You have some young minds in very sharp too, and who can pick up things, but you need to get experienced people from a broad section of the country. You need to go across the geographical limit of the country. There are people living in certain counties. They are not in Monrovia. They are way out in Bong, Lofa, Nimba, and all that. They are retired people, and they are quite experienced on what happens. You have traditional leaders who are in the counties who physically saw these things happen. You get them involved in the process by selection and put them around a table, and they will be able to make a determination and make recommendations on where to go further. But you cannot. It's not something that will start in a courtroom.
So
it's not something that will start at the legislature.
Yeah,
that's where it should start. Let Ellen White start in the PU from the legislature. and let them come and sponsor it and get some of these NGOs and things to sponsor a request to this Liberian legislature requesting them to repeal the act of amnesty and then get there. I don't know how far they will go. We're repealing it in the legislature with all those people in there. Most of them are part of the problem and they don't want to be part of the solution.
So why the GOL, that's the government of Liberia, why are they not initiating? These are very good and sound looking idea that people could give a second thought. And you are a member of the governing council. So what are you what is you guys' role?
The government council, you have functionaries in government, my friend. The governing council is a constituent body of 7 members of 3 political parties who we make decisions on administrative matters and on governmental issues. We are not involved with the day-to-day running of government. We don't have anything. I'm retired. What do I want to do with day-to-day running of government?
Are you guys on salary? Are you guys being paid by tax? Are you guys being paid by tax?
Absolutely not. We are not paid. Some of us are nominated to a board of directors and consultants and whatnot. But I'm not paid, and I don't need any consideration to perform my national duties. But be that as it may, we have to understand one thing, my dear Alfonso. Look, Liberians everyone always say we are our own problems. I listened to the ANC leader Alexander the other day. They're making a very brilliant speech, a well-written speech that I was reading. But it did not reflect the prevailing situation on the ground, and he did not reflect the laws of Liberia. If you have interest in being the leader of a country, you have to understand the laws of the country. You have to follow a series of events before you make a public pronouncement. Because you begin to look bad when you did not even mention that there's an amnesty act that need to be repealed before you get into supporting a war crime or economic crime. You have to look at these
So who is telling the truth here, Chief Allen? Because I did hear Allen White saying, hey, that thing is off the record, and I'm hearing the different version of you now. So who is really saying the truth here? And why the government is not championing this cause of all of these good ideas that you are sharing with us here? Why are they not saying something? Because it's part of it's not something that we can just put on the rug to say, okay, why you didn't talk about it last 12 years ago, and it's all over the place here when I want to focus on development. Development is key, that we know, but when there's discontent, when people still feel hurt about the process and nobody is saying anything to put that ice on their chest, then it means we're not going to get over it.
Well, we'll get over it. It depends on the will. You know that nobody is talking about the last 12 years because there was not the will to implement a reconciliation in Liberia because the president was a key player and one of those people who the TRC said should not participate in political matters. I mean, that would offend or upset they cut short the TRC and short-circuit them. They have not gotten all their benefits and whatnot today because of that their reporting. So you see, there was a witch hunt on the TRC. That's why it did not come out, and the report was never implemented to the letter. So we can't blame this administration. That we have to put it on the table. So, it's on the table now. People have to start.
So who you want to blame? Is that Helen Johnson?
The discussion must start from the citizenry through the legislators. And I cannot jump as a member of the government council and begin to talk about war crime code and economic crime code. It's not my function. It's not my duty.
So who you want us to blame?
If I'm called upon to play a role in reconciliation in this country, having knowledge of what transpired over the years, I will happily play my role and bravely tell everyone to their face where they erred. I mean, I don't have to be, my head cannot fit in anybody's mouth. So I will not be intimidated to talk to anybody. I'll be very happy and very pleased to serve on a reconciliation group. I was head of delegation and chief of negotiation for 28 peace conferences. We brought peace. So I did it through the MPFL. I was heading the delegation most of the time, or chief of negotiation. And I was steadfast in my duty. I gave in for peace and gave position. I mean, when they started to share government, there was no one bothered about that. I was clear on it. I even told Taylor we must go this way because that's what the other warring factions want. So people must learn to play this role and speak truth to power. So that
Okay,
we
so
can
let
get
me
over
ask.
this thing. There are people bickering all around about these things, you know.
Okay, let me ask you this question here. I know we gotta let you go here. You said just 2 days.
Go ahead. I have the time. Don't worry.
Okay. You said 2 days ago here. Let's get off track here a little bit. I'm curious to know. 2 days ago, you spoke with former President Charles Taylor in The Hague. Who placed that call? Was it you or he calls you?
No, I can't call him. He has 9 numbers that he can call, members of his family and close friends and relatives. I'm one of the 9 for the past 12 years. I've been in touch with him. I was representing him at the traditional ceremony of Richard Filmer where he donated a cow. And
representing him as what?
Representing him at the Dapana for the traditional society. He belongs to 4 traditional societies, and I belong to 4 or 5 myself.
That is in Bon County.
Traditionally, Richard Flomo is the national football. He died. So the Dapana have to make a traditional contribution of 1 cow or more and $1,000 or more. So he did 150,000 Liberian dollars and 1 cow, and I went to present it on his behalf. And dude, I was lucky at the time I was there.
President Taylor gave
2 days ago.
President Taylor gave that?
Yeah?
President Taylor gave that?
Yes, I couldn't be that on his behalf. 1 cow and 150,000 Liberian dollars. That's his contribution at Dapana. Yeah, to the bereaved family, yes. So we did that. We presented it yesterday at the cultural ceremony to the family and the traditional society, the National Traditional Society. And then I was lucky while I was there, he called at about 4:30, just as we were in the ceremony. And I spoke to him. But you were asking a question. You said, "Well, I spoke to him." Yes, I did. I do speak to him once a week.
Once a week. Is he regretful of the situations? What happens to Liberia? Is that something sometimes he brings out in the conversation?
Of course, that's all we talk about. Some of the errors and some of the things that he did not listen to, and some of the things that he should have listened to. Some of the things, but particularly sometimes we say, "My brother, I think." Some of you guys were right that we should have embraced the United States at the beginning of this. We were friends from the war. We should have continued our relationship with Firestone and with Locke and all those people there, and then to continue dealing with those people on Capitol Hill. But that was the condition and that was the time. So I mean, he mentions that too. He has his own regrets. He's apologetic about certain things, and he's not apologetic about certain things.
Is he still providing counsel to the NPP party, the National Patriotic Party?
Well, he's our first standard bearer, and sometimes he makes recommendations and suggestions on the way forward. If there's controversy, we discuss that, and sometimes he gives a way forward. He's an old head, and he can give some advice. We don't have to follow it word for word. We have our own strength and our own decisions and our own experience. So we blend whatever he says with what is prevailing on the ground and make decisions that will enhance the party objectives and keep the party together. That is very essential.
I surmise that
a traveler that asks questions do not miss the road.
So, Chief Allen, I understand it, and I had a brief conversation. I hope to bring the party chairman, Banning, but you are one of the strong voices of the National Patriotic Party, and the convention, I believe, is in July, correct?
Hopefully, we have to meet at the executive level and make a determination of a date, and on that, when that date is pronounced and announced, I'm sure you'll get a win of it.
Is it concerned who's gonna be the standard bearer of the NPP, or Chief Dr. Joel Howard Taylor will still be on top of the ticket? Has he raised any concerns or alarm, any advice, which of course, like you said, you don't necessarily have to take, or the group or the party, you use your own wisdom. Is he talking anything about that?
Our standard bearer is not up for election at the convention. The national chairman and 3 vice chairpersons are up for election at the convention. The standard bearer remains standard bearer until 2023. Her tenure ends in 2023. And as far as we are concerned, as a party,
2020 before or after the election?
It's after the election.
After the election. So my understanding.
Yes, her tenure ends 2023.
Okay, so let me just put.
As it stands now, let me answer your question now. I gave you that detail as a periphery. The MPP as it stands now maintain our standard bearer we support and uphold our standard bearer and encourage. You see, these things that are going down are the results of some inexperience. You see, our standard bearer is in her 50s. The president is in their 50s. They are young minds in the political sector, if you would consider that as a fact. That's a statement of fact. And people learn sometimes and mature during the performance of their duties. And I'm certain that with time, you can see that some of those bottlenecks and whatnot we had in the administration are curving down with time. And the standard bearer of MPP, the vice president, is supportive of this coalition agenda. You heard her statement in Nigeria yesterday and the day before yesterday. Support for those positive things that have been done by the Coalition for Democratic Change, like the WAC fees, like the free education, like some of those things that have been done. She supported very strongly yesterday in her meeting with her colleagues in Nigeria and other places. So basically, and our president, you can see from the county tour that he has come of age also. He's beginning now to adopt a positive posture of a national leader. He speaks as we and us now, which is very good, and no longer a party leader. And so we give him credit for that, and we have encouraged, and I've mentioned that to him, that his posture as a national leader is being projected, and he should continue in that manner. Hear the people, respond to them, and not read speeches to them, respond to the individual concerns of the different groups at the different county level, and then this response has been getting some positive results. That is the way people. We are here also to guide the process and make suggestions to our leaders so that we can do the people's job and do good for the country. That's the age we have reached now. There have been errors in the past, mistakes in the past by our government. We have seen them. We have seen people trample on other things. It's our duty now to make positive recommendations and speak truth to power. As long as we can do that as responsible citizens, some people will take some corrections. Some people might be offended, but at the same time, they will know that it's a positive suggestion. You don't mean any harm. But to answer your question directly, our standard bearer remains the standard bearer of the party, and we support her. The people of Bong County support her. The coalition supports her candidacy.
Okay,
and we surround our leaders with positive suggestions.
Yeah, before I go to my colleague, commentator, Mr. Amos George, who is a son of Bong County, let me get it right here. From what I'm understanding, what I'm hearing from you now, NPP maintains a position and Dr. Joel Howard Taylor will remain the standard bearer. Is there a consensus with the other rest of the coalition that indeed Joel Howard Taylor will be on the ticket with Dr. Weah comes 2023?
Well, my brother, you see, you are talking two different things. And this is where I like you young people to be on the track. Joel Howard Taylor, the vice president, remains the standard bearer of the NPP. Whether or not a decision will be taken, I mean, if the NPP is submitting a presidential candidate in 2023, I'm certain it would be our standard bearer, whoever bears the standard of the NPP. But you are saying that whether we are sure that she will be on the ticket. The ticket is a different thing. I think in instances you have to understand that it is the vice president is selected upon recommendation to the president, and it's his selection. We are certain as things are going now, that's what it is. But no one is not written in stone what is.
Anything can happen.
But the NPP, the NPP. I mean, we will be lobbying, especially the reason why we will be lobbying is that the vice president is from a vote-rich county. Lofa is out because Boca might be running or whoever represents the CBB. Lofa will be out for us, so we need a vote-rich county. We need someone with an impeccable reputation internationally. That's Joel Howard Taylor. We need someone that understands the working of the Liberian Senate. He's been there for 9 to 12 years. You see, you need someone of a balanced gender, feminine gender. So you have to look at the qualities of the individual that you're submitting to the Liberian people for consideration. It's not just a name brand or anybody who's popular. You have some popular people, but they don't have constituencies. You see, and Joel Howard Taylor has a strong constituencies. He has the MPP, a broad-based political party located around the 15 counties of the country. That is constituency. Bong County, a vote-rich county, that's constituency. So that is what we are looking at in politics. The dynamics of politics, the political geography of this country does not look for popular people.
Right.
It looks for people who are from political subdivisions that are vote-rich areas. Blended with other areas and neutralizing other areas too. And that is the strategy that we employed at the last elections. And that is what we intend to employ in the next election, as long as I remain coordinator of the campaign.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, Joette, Dr. Taylor, she strategically positioned politics. Well, exactly. Let me go with Amos George there. He get a question. Amos George, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay, you've been listening to Chief Allen here. From all indications, politicians are just politicians. He's not going to let it out of the bed. But it seems to mean that the dust is settled because he was very vehement in the past that they are not weak and they want to be forceful after those rough edges were going on with the CDC. NPP came out. He specifically came out and say, hey, I don't cross our rail line. It seems Joel Howard Taylor will still be with the CDC-led government comes 2023.
Well, that decision, I can determine that because that would be left with the president of the Republic of Liberia because he has the choice to select anybody that he wants.
Chief Allen.
Okay.
But here's the thing. I heard Chief Allen read a whole lot of stuff. I cut the program in the middle. But I want to ask you a question. One is this question of honesty. How the honesty of this war law came about? One. What led to that? Who are those involved to grant those people the honesty of participating in the war? And my second question has to do with this, the VP Joel Howard Taylor coming from the rich vote county, which is Bond County. What are some of the things that this government has done for the people of Bond County that they can sit down and say, yes, their daughter is in the government, and these are some of the benefits they're getting from this government. When then the third one here is that during the war, that was the headquarters of the National Patriotic Front. What can you count on that the people of Bond County benefited during that era when the headquarters of the National Patriotic Front were there? Because we witnessed a whole lot of destruction of people culture and enslavement of the people by your forces. What can you tell the people of Bond County today?
Okay, let me go. Chief Allen, are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. You heard your question?
Yeah, no, one, the amnesty is something.
Yeah.
But I don't think, I expect him to be, Amos to be sharper than that with his questioning, but be that as it may, we'll respond to them. One, the amnesty is an act of legislature, so you can consult with the national legislature and get the details on that. It was an act passed and printed into handbills. It's not me to answer that question. Members of the legislature, I think you have access to some of them, and you have access to the Nyampolo. In fact, I was telling the Senate, Secretary of the Senate the other day that he should be charged for contempt for allowing the people in the Senate to go and speak on war crimes issues without informing them that, in fact, you have an amnesty act that was passed by the Senate and the legislature. So it is important. It's contemptuous for the Secretary of the Senate to know that there's such laws and allow his principals to go bickering about something that is sub judice. I mean, that is in violation of the Constitution. So there is a problem there. The amnesty was passed by an act of legislature to answer that. And then you talk about the MPP and Bond County. Bond County is the home of the MPP. You come against Bond County and MPP, you will be defeated. The people are fanatics of the MPP. It's unfortunate. What has happened in Bond County is that the legislators of Bond County and the citizens of Bond County, and those nominated in government are responsible for development in Bond County. Funds are allocated to Bond County. They are making laws and they are making allocation for county development funds. The representative of Bond County and the senators in Bond County should be lobbying for monies for their county for development projects. It's not meant to explain to you what government has done or what government has not done.
You're speaking on it. You're speaking on the issue.
The judiciary. Three branches of government, prominent people from Bond County. If you listen to an interview I gave to yesterday in Bond County, in Bond County, in Sanay District, I said that the Bond County Legislative Caucus is very powerful. You have a lot of powerful and prominent people in Bond County. The Legislative Caucus have been divided for the past 6 years. They are divided, and they must come together in unity. There is strength. If they are united, they'll be able to lobby strongly national government to get more benefits for the citizens of Bong County. It's not me to tell you whether MPF did or what MPP did or what the government is doing. It is the legislators and those responsible for national development efforts. They are ministers of government that are from Bong County. They must take development to their county.
Okay.
But, hold on, Mr. Chief Allen,
and not acts of government who ask me as an outsider in government, what are we doing to for Bong County? You know, the records are there. Find out from the citizens of Bong County, find out from the legislators of Bong County individually, what have they achieved over the past 4 years for and on behalf of the new of the coalition government, for and on behalf of their people. It is a good question to ask them. I think you should direct your questions to them.
Okay, I think he has a follow-up. Let me go to him before we can wrap up here.
Yeah, but Alan, you counting this. You're saying that the people of Bong County are fanatic of the MPP, which I cannot argue that. But in the same vein, you are the chairman of the party. I mean, I don't know your position right now of the party.
No longer party. The man that's the strong decision maker.
Okay, strong decision maker of the party.
That's my title I'm giving him.
Yeah, and you are a strong decision maker of the party, and the party that's the base of your party.
100%.
And the individuals are there. You talk to the leadership. I was just asking that question in that direction. Have you spoken to since you're talking to the leadership? Are they concerned about the lack of unity and development in the country? Are the leadership, including the VP? That is my concern. And the question I asked about the answer is that it's almost same thing to the 1986 Constitution, where the PRS went and ran themselves, and I say in that document again. And at the legislature, it's the same thing they did. People who committed crimes are the same people who went and passed this law. And that is the point that I'm coming from. Not that I don't know who passed the law, but the people that committed the crime, they are the same people who wrote this law. So I'm asking, did they consult the Liberian people to get the view of the people? That's the direction I'm coming from.
All right. So let me go to Mr. MPP himself, Chief Cyril Allen. Chief Allen, are you there?
I'm there. I'm listening to him. He has modified his question, which is very good. But basically, the vice president is from Bong County. Bong County has, I think, 7 other representatives and 2 senators. There's a whole group of people there who must initiate development in their county and request the national government for support of budgetary support and whatnot. It's their responsibility. And they will account to you in the annual reports on what they have done. Yes, the MPP is strong base there. The MPP is strong base in the Southeast. The representatives and legislators from the Southeast must also lobby their colleagues to pass budgetary allocation for their county development. Then the county development fund. Each representative has requested X amount of dollar for development in his district or her district. That's a good beginning. So let them take the money to the district and not squander it on their own personal things. It's the attitude of Liberians, Amos. It's the attitude of Liberians towards their own citizens. It has nothing to do with government. It has to do with Liberians not diligent in the discharge of their duties. Liberians not patriotic and not nationalistic in their endeavors. That is what's causing the downtrend in our development effort. People squander development fund with impunity. These are the things that happen in the country. Been happening when you were boys and men in the country. You come here now, some of you people came from the States very early. So this time, all they did was squander money and put their children in private schools in America and was flying to America every month squandering government money. Today, they cannot sustain and upkeep that lifestyle. You see, that's the kind of thing that happen to Liberians. How much millions of dollars they squander on air tickets, business class tickets, and expensive thing, and talking about corporate America and that the salaries must be comparable to corporate America when they never work in corporate America. They've never seen those kind of salaries before. But they came here and they were awarded those salaries at the detriment of the Liberian people national development. $20,000 for one boy in Maritime or in LPRC or somewhere. These kind of hell up fat salaries for oil companies that are not yielding anything. This is the kind of things that this corruption. That's what I'm saying. Misallocation of resources of the country. It comes from government to government. It doesn't have to do with no particular government come in with that intention. It's the Liberians that have that attitude. You take Liberians from right now, some of us who are talking right now, you take some of them and put them in government. By the time you look to be flying to America, putting their children in private schools and taking heavy mortgages. and buying expensive cars with heavy mortgages today. They cannot take care of those mortgages. But Liberians do that to our own country. You see?
Okay.
And then you talk about the MPP being broad-based in Bong. Let the citizens of Bong County look out for their citizens. Let the representatives and senators put their feet to the fire to do these things. There are concession and concessionaires operating in some of these counties. The representatives and senators go there to get cars and get vehicles and get weekend money. They do not put the concessionaires' feet to the fire to provide the jobs that they say they would do the training programs that they would do, build the hospitals that they promised in the concession, and maintain the roads. They do not ask them to do these things. They keep going there to them for handouts.
Okay.
They are responsible. There's a concession in your county. You as a senator, you should be on top of those Europeans or East Europeans or Indians or Lebanese who are doing the concession to make sure they provide those things that are written in the concession. You see, not to just leave it and take the money for the government, take a loan on Liberian concession and go and invest it in India. As long as you are paying the bank, they don't talk about the concession. And the concession is dying here. Nobody is building anything. They are not improving it. They took heavy loans, mortgaging the concession to go and put the loan in their developed society. As long as they are paying the banks don't call on the mortgage. So this is what's happening to Liberia. The representatives and senators are responsible. They're the ones who pass these concessions. They must go and make sure that the county is developed as a consequence of that. And not sit down in the offices writing and requesting new vehicles every year at the expense of the Liberian people. I mean, I'm upset with this. I'm sorry, Alfonso, if I'm hard, but this is what is happening.
No, that one makes it.
That to their own people.
That one makes it crossfire. So before,
you don't go back to your constituency. You don't go back there for years. You're sitting in Monrovia. Your people are draining into the bottomless pit.
So quickly here, let me intrude here a little bit here. Let me intrude here a little bit before we go here. We have like 5 minutes to go. So all of this, what we are talking about is lack of accountability. That's my concern. That's every other Liberian concern. You are a member of the governing council. Should we, and I don't know why people hate the word audit. Audit is just to verify, to check, to know my liability and my assets or whatever it is and stuff. But hearing what I'm hearing from you now, should the president or this government that you support should do the right thing and say, hey, we didn't consider that before, but this seems to be the crowd of the Liberian people. We need to check the outgoing government for 12 years on some of the things. You measure about the destruction of Noka. Nobody is, they just say we're sorry. Sorry for what? And nobody's being held accountable.
The president says you take responsibility.
Yeah, take responsibility.
No,
and what next?
Sorry.
Yeah, okay, take responsibility. And what next?
She said I took responsibility for the $34 million that was squandered. That means she took responsibility, she should be paying. Today I'm taking a bank loan for someone that I guaranteed. I guarantee somebody that didn't disappear from the country, I'm still paying back the loan because I guaranteed it.
So why is she paying? Is she paying our money?
Let me get back to your point.
Is she paying our money as far as you are concerned?
I do not know. I know nothing like that is in the pipeline. There's no such thing. You know, so I do not know. You see, you are quite right, and I want.
But President, we have said, you took responsibility
about audit. They started. I didn't steal no money. But an audit is to get a true account of the financial position of an institution. It's not to go and check whether somebody stole or not. But people, hello.
Yeah, we're listening.
Are you there, Bonzo?
Yes.
As soon as you tell people about, they want to audit this bureau, they start thinking that somebody is witch hunting them. And audit is an audit. I mean, it's an English word. And it's a professional word to audit an institution. Every institution should be audited at the end of the day. You audit your private institution, your private company. Why shouldn't you be audited if you fill in a government position? That's why every time I was leaving a job, I got an independent auditor to please audit the NIC. I'm leaving in 2 months. Please do an audit, forensic audit, so that we can know the position I'm leaving here. The same thing at LPRC. The same thing at hydrocarbon before I turn over to LC Dawson. So these are the kind of things that, people who are educated and people who are prudent and rational and guided by constraints that govern human conduct would do. So there's nothing wrong with calling for an audit because they're witch hunting our government. They're calling for audit now. You know, it's not a witch hunt. It's just for government to know its financial position at the various industry, corporate level. You know, and people, they're vexed when they say they want to do audit, and when they talk about war crime, and post start causing people mad and whatnot. These are things that people will suggest and recommend. People should understand and respect other people's ideas and their views. Not because somebody talk against something that you support, you have to get angry with them. You have to be prudent. You have to accept criticism and work again, to verify them. Yes, I would suggest that there be audit. In fact, there be periodic audit in line with the constitution and the guidelines and the bylaws of the corporate entities of Liberia. It is in the law. It is in the bylaw that audit must take place at a certain period in time during the course of the year, etc. People must accept audit and conduct audits. There's a budget for that so that you can have the true financial position. I agree with that 100%, and I support your view on that.
Okay. I hope you go to the Senate, and I will help to push to be one of the person to advocate that bill, because this is just ridiculous, and we have said this thing over and over, and that's not happening. Chief Allen, I want to thank you so much for always making yourself available. I hope our lawmakers and other national leaders will also take time when people call them, because the more we discuss these sort of critical, controversial, painful issue, we tend to find peace of mind and resolutions in making sure that Liberia is safe and well. Thank you so much. What's your final word before we go?
My final word is that Liberians must be diligent in the discharge of their duties. Our legislators must represent the interests of the people and represent the interests of the country, particularly with concessions. My other word is that we should review some of the international conventions that we have that have stopped us from using our natural resources to propel our national economy. We must mechanize gold and diamond in our country, get the Eastern Europeans and other people who have the quality of machinery and technology to mechanize gold and diamond in our country, train our people to be experts in that line so that they can have profession and payment to sustain their families. Agriculture must be extensively done. We must have 1,000 to 2,000 acres of land in each county provided for agriculture, mechanized agriculture. And we must bring in packaging and processing plants to process our cassava leaf, our potato grain, our boni, and these kind of things, process them for export. Years ago, when I was in graduate school in Switzerland in 1978, I used to go to the supermarket and buy shrimps made in Liberia by a Maserati group of companies. Stephen Tower had 34 radar boats fishing in Liberian waters and producing about $64 million a year in the acetylene plant, the fruit juice factory, and these things, the piggery, the poultry farm, and all those things. I was one Liberian entrepreneur. The ocean is there, 300 miles of coastal water Liberia has. We have 50 miles auxiliary to Guinea and 50 miles auxiliary waters to La Côte d'Ivoire. We have 400 miles of coastal waters. That's sufficient money to feed half of Europe. That's sufficient revenue can be generated to feed half of Europe. We are here, European vessels are here to shipping tuna and say that Liberia, we cannot bring sophisticated vessels in our water to fish and process on board because they will give us yellow card. This is all joke. How can an international convention supersede your national interest? We have the largest rainforest in sub-Saharan Africa. Excuse me. We have the largest rainforest in sub-Saharan Africa. 33 million acres of timber forest. And somebody came and gave our government, the last government, $15 or $20 million and said you should stop timber.
So how much you give this other? How much you give this other government?
This government has not been approached about it. I think it was something that prevailed from
with all these vast information here, Chief Allen.
Excuse me. Yeah. I'm saying these things should be reviewed. Even though we said in our platform that we support all international conventions of which we are signatory that have been approved by our legislature, but at the same time, when an international convention supersedes or overlap with the national development effort, there must be renegotiation. You must go back. You can't tell us not to cut logs and bill, and we must look for foreign money to go and buy furniture, fixtures, and fittings from abroad when we have wood in our industry. Maybe you can put a condition in where we must have plywood and veneer plant. We must have wood processing industry to make furniture, fixtures, and fittings. So that we don't have
reforestation.
All the kind of things that we should be doing about national development. That's what these are my concerns in our country. I'm more concerned about national development than all these sentimental things that people talk about. We must mechanize agriculture, mechanize gold and diamond mining, and mechanize our fishing industry and begin to generate some money to strengthen our national currency and stop bickering about international issues and World Bank and International Monetary Fund and all that giving our hand out. We can propel our national economy to development by utilizing machine and technology and transforming our raw material into finished and semi-finished products.
All right.
And train our people to be skilled and all-skilled people.
All right. We're going to end here. I think I have to arrange a special time host here. But let me take you back in the days of ELTV. I know you remember Sherman Brown yes or no test, right? So let me ask you a question here. Okay, I know that was one of your favorite show here. Let me ask this question. If the going gets tough and the tough gets going, and your party, the coalition that you support, wins the election for discussion purposes with all this sort of vice and international experiences that you have, will you be compelled to come back in government to help?
No, Alfonso. The answer is no. I've been requested once or twice to do that. At this age and stage, I'm retired and I'm successful. I don't need to get back. I can make advices. I'm a consultant now. I'm a senior management consultant. I'm consulted by agencies of government, also international bodies. So I prefer to remain a consultant and make suggestions and recommendations like I'm doing at the MPP as chairman of the advisory board. I'm advising the national leadership and the standard bearer on how to proceed, especially when they have difficulties. So that is that's the role I want to play in age 70. And I need to go work in the morning to go to work.
Okay, I know one thing you're going to do. I'll be coming to Liberia anytime. I want to take a tour on your farm there to see what's going on and how things are working. That, of course, I think you are willing to do that.
That's where I am right now, talking to you in the center of the farm.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Chief Cyril Allen, thank you so much for sharing your thought with us.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Amos George, as we have it, I want to thank you so much. There was a lot of things he said. What are their political statements? That's another thing, but I think people should be held accountable. Audits and all of those, they are very, very much important. They need to do that in order to bring check and balances to national government. Well, I want to thank you so much for chipping in. It was a little bit difficult to get him, but he's one of the person, I don't care how he looks like, he always honor the invitation to always come here. And I hope some of our national leaders try to follow suit. To all our viewers, listeners, I want to thank you so much this beautiful Saturday afternoon, sharing your time with us. By God's willing, same time, same station. Next week is Saturday, hopefully. You never know. We're going to be here with another edition of Crossfire. Thank you so much. If they're your first time, just look for the bell, the notification, hit on that bell, and there will be a lot of options to grab down. Just sign up to all options. That way you're going to get a notification when Liberia Public Radio is on. We are doing everything possible to have Mr. Senator Banning of Maryland County, who happens to be the chairman of the National Patriotic Party. That convention is planning in your own county or Bond County. That's a stronghold of MPP, to have a conversation here with him as well. So Lottie Brooks and the rest of our people, Emlet, these are valuable to listeners, Anant, and all of you beautiful people far and near. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. Pa George, have a pleasant day, and by God's willing, I will be back here tomorrow to do what is best for the Liberian people.
Yeah, require of us.
So your guy is going back. From all indication, from what I sense out from Chief Allen, your guy Joette, I think they have cemented that fragile relationship, because there's no CDC can lose her, because that would cause them a political injury. Now, Allen spoke the other day, frowned on them when certain things were going on that we will not be quiet, we will talk. I think that's right, both too, with the CDC and like, oh, we need to tone it down. You don't want to go down that route with Joy Howard Taylor. Thank you so much, guys, and have a pleasant evening. All right, this is boys say all Liberian knows how to talk sweet, but the implementations is our problem. Absolutely 100%. Forget it. When they dress a devil here, you see it, say, oh yeah, this is the best dancer. But hey, sound the drum and see whether that devil gonna dance. Unfortunately, that's not the situation. Well, folks, that's how we're going to bring the current down here this afternoon. Here is 3:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I'm Alfonso Z. And so let us keep it civic. Let us have an authentic and genuine conversation for the good of our country. Until then, have a pleasant time. Bye-bye.
Everybody, everything's going bad. everybody in the country getting mad. This on the state, poverty on the rise. The leaders them making to promises with no damn strategies. Yeah, this is better days, money in the pockets. Oh, after holidays only for the bosses. Yeah.